First off, if you don't know who I am, my name is Angela Knight. I am from Tampa, and I moved to Miami for a opportunity.
And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Air Podcast After Hours. This week we got a packed house, man, with 3 special guests. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Let's go.
Money is one thing. Yeah, we both clean the house. She's not like my maid. Like we do. Yeah, we do like everything.
My question with that is the problem with, in my opinion, for two people having the same thing is like, let's say you don't hold up your end on one part, but you can do it. And after a while, you don't do it. Don't you just feel like, all right, f this, I don't really want this anymore. Next, as opposed to, let's say like you cook his favorite dish and he doesn't cook at all.
And I was more so frustrated because, like I said, I forgot his name, Destiny. I just didn't care for the fact of the style of saying like, well, this is a male, like this is what you guys do. And I was like, dude, like chill. Like first of all, chill. You don't gotta be like that. Let me state my points as, perception to say that. To be really honest, I forgot Sneeko was there for a minute because he got really quiet because I honestly think he was a little fed up with the way Destiny was talking. First of all, if you're a guy and your name is Destiny, you're gonna have to make up for the fact that your name is Destiny. Second of all, if you're a guy and you give blowjobs, understand, as a female, you've lost my respect. Not that you need my respect, but I don't really like other
the back and forth, like, you've lost my respect. Not that you need it, like, God, she's so non-committal.
Hello? You hear me? What's up, Destiny? How's it going?
It's going great.
I really appreciate the patience that you've all given me and I wouldn't say like 8 months, probably a little bit longer than that. But I want to say I'm back and I want to say thank you so much for your patience. I like the red pill ideology to a certain degree. Unfortunately, it's turned into a woman's hate club in my truest opinion. Fight me on it, but it's been hard to shake that off because if I choose to no longer represent that community, you'd think you'd just leave it alone.
Are you against Passport Bros or?
I understand the fundamentals of it for those who have done everything in life to make sure they are a man, but if you're not a man, I don't think you deserve that, honestly.
I want to deal with a normal, mentally stable, healthy woman. So.
You think you're normal? Exactly.
In what sense?
Well, do you think you have healthy habits?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Weren't you the same one who like fat shamed me like last week or so? You think that's normal from a man, from a stranger to fat shame somebody?
I don't remember. Did I call you fat?
Okay.
You're talking about that you want this wife and this submissive person and all of this, but where's your respect towards women?
Yes. And don't you run like an entire male empowerment thing? Like I think that's important that people look up to you. And you know what's funny? I actually subscribed to you prior to you doing that. And I thought that was so out of pocket. And I was like, wow, like people like you, respectfully to anyone that's listening, this is why I stepped out of the red pill space, because you guys are so quick to demonize women in the West. But mind you, all of these girls have been working since we were old enough to work. A lot of us have to retire our families. I mean, that's accountability that some people should take, but to each their own.
Yes.
Just saying.
So what are you upset that I called you fat?
This is upset? This is upset?
Clearly.
This is addressing.
Well,
and
why don't you want to own up to what you said, though? Why are you denying?
What was it that was said?
You're not going to own up to it, and then what's the point? You're just what, bullying people?
What's up with, like, there's no integrity in what you stand on. Like, nowadays, like, you're running a space where men stand on principles and honor, but, like, you see someone's face, and you completely dismiss the fact that was disgusting. Like, disgusting. We're not in a...
Yeah, so we don't, like, they keep saying that he said fat, but we don't know who he called fat. We don't know what the context was. We don't know if he literally said, you're fat, or if he was saying something like, these fat bitches don't know what they're talking about, or if he was saying something like, fat chicks need to stop going on podcasts like this, or, we don't know. We have no freaking idea. LLWTF, what does it matter, Tom? What do you mean, what does it matter? He's asking what he said, and she keeps saying, I already told you, but she didn't tell him. She just said that he said the word fat.
We're kind of built the same, which is funny, dude. We're like, I mean, come on, man. You can't be sitting there acting like we're like, oh, and I'm like, dude, honestly, that's so out of pocket in so many ways.
Run off. I don't want to go out like this.
It looks like he's doing the one chip challenge.
Yes, he is. He's not okay.
He's not okay.
He's not having a good week.
This is not a good week for him.
Look at the difference in the color on his hands and his face. What the fuck?
Oh no. Oh no.
Anything you would like to say before you do?
I got nothing to say.
Oh man.
See, my point.
All right, brother. Of course, bro. Joey, let's make sure he gets out. MLD, final words before you run off. I don't want to go out like this.
Anything you would like to say before you do?
I got nothing to say. I'm out.
See? My point.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Sorry.
Of course, bro. Joey, let's make sure he gets out safely.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Angela is like tells me, she started asking me like, do you have healthy habits or something? I was like, yeah, you fucking fat bitch. The fuck you
right.
She was getting it because I didn't know who this girl was the whole time. So she says something. So apparently she got really mad about this and just started like just going like trauma dumping like a motherfucker. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to like the fucking 50 men before me.
Wow. Oh, one of those.
Way.
Oh yeah, she's been waiting.
Dude, she was just like, blah. Like it was a like hardcore trauma dump. And then she started telling me, you need to change your pronouns, and then like you need to do this, you need that. So she's talking a lot of shit. So I was getting fucking angry because you know, there's certain places in the world like a woman talks like that, you know.
And I'm not trying to advocate for, Duracell. If anybody knows what I'm, yeah. No. MLD is shadowboxing. He is shadowboxing right now. That's what he is doing. We are not endorsing anything like that. But yeah.
Angela Knight, appreciate you joining us today. Do you want to shout yourself out real quick? Let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Angela Knight. I do some stuff on YouTube, and I do some other stuff online also. Nothing crazy, but I'm under Angela Knight 2.0, and that's it.
Nice. So I got some questions. It's super casual, so like if you want to ask me questions.
Pretty open book, so you don't have to stress out. I mean, as long as it's not too penetrating, but I'm not like really sensitive about anything, to be really honest.
Okay, cool. So I guess I did want to start with kind of how you got into content creation, so people can kind of figure out like your journey, your path to where you're at now. So when did you actually start deciding to do any sort of content creation? What was that like?
Any sort of content creating was during COVID. I just quit my family salon and I was at home and looking through TikTok, and for me it was just like endlessly scrolling, being a modern woman, and then I was just like, wait, why am I watching other people do this? Why am I not doing this? And then I just tried it, and somehow it worked out, and then I became a villain for like 2 seconds and hated myself, and now here I am.
So what kind of content were you doing on TikTok?
It was sort of the red pill stuff in the beginning. Like TikTok was my main platform in the beginning, and I blew up really fast on there. I think from like 1 month I went from 1,000 to 60,000 really fast. And yeah, and something like that, like a lot of people glorify that, but for me, I think I noticed the impact on me because I was so like glued to my phone, and the numbers were like freaking me out, and then the constant mass reports that I was getting, like I was getting mass attacked, and people were just hating me and constantly removing. And you always hear people say like the internet's gonna hate you, like get used to it. So you try to normalize it, but to a certain degree, like to me, like it didn't feel right. So I think I started noticing how unhealthy it was when my fiance was just like kind of tiptoeing around me, and like we have a very healthy relationship. So when I start noticing like he's tiptoeing around me, I think that's when I was like, I need to figure something out. Like there's a difference between passion and anger, and I think people try to cover up their anger with passion, and I realized like it wasn't healthy.
Was this before or after you went on Fresh and Fit?
Okay, so it happened all in increments for me. So with the whole Fresh and Fit thing, I had a lot of my followers and subscribers were like, dude, go in here. So you start listening to people. So they were pushing me to go in there. And not to say that I didn't want to. Like, I think that when you're a consumer and you're watching these people create, so you want to like challenge them and you want to be the voice where it is. But when you go there, you find out that's not why you're there. It changed. Every time I went on a show, I got kicked back a couple times mentally. Like, you know, it's like finding out your favorite song was written about like a sandwich or something. Like I go there and I find out like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So a lot of people would think that I hate these content creators because it's not what I thought, but it wasn't because I expected privilege. It was more so just because they want people to think like them and grow like them. And when you sit in that space, they don't really want that. They want to be the one to do it. And once I noticed that, I was like, oh, okay, this is all strategic. This is all like just calculated for your benefit. It's not for the universe. It's not for men and women to unite. It's just for men to unite. And that's when I started pulling back a little bit. And then working with people in that space also, I recognized how dirty and snaky they could be. So I also, every little thing, like I just kept pulling back because my immediate reaction was just to crawl back into my little shell and say, you know what? I don't want to be with this anymore. Like, fuck that. But I'm like, that's how people get hurt. And then that's a pretty lame excuse. So I'm just going to nudge back pound for pound. If you're pounding, I'm a pound back. Pound, I'm a pound back. And it just kept happening. So this is where I am now.
So you start doing TikTok and you're doing red pill content. What got you into red pill content?
So the red pill stuff wasn't anything that I just picked up. It's something that I grew up with. Like, I think that I still aligned with some of the values because I think that it's a very structured community or ideology, whatever you want to call it. Because I speak to so many people now and they keep trying to correct me, but I'm going to speak in like simple layman terms of what the average person would assume. And to me, I truly believe it's like, it's not just a library, it's an ideology. Like, it is the truth, but whoever picks up that truth and make it that, it's a different story. But when we hear now as modern people, red pill, you're thinking Andrew Tate, you're thinking FNF, you're thinking whatever. You don't think about whoever writes these books or whatever it is. So I grew up with like my uncles and I grew up around my brothers, and I was moderately raised by men who taught me how women could be. And I just also didn't have a very healthy relationship with women myself. So I did have a little bit of like anger towards women, and it did make sense. And working in the beauty industry especially, I was like, damn, women are fucking evil. But it's almost like if you sit in a barber shop, you hear about how crappy baby mamas are or how crappy somebody is and how you hear all the negatives. You don't really hear so much of the good things. And I didn't realize that I was only hearing a portion of like why these things were so bad.
So what kind of content creators were you watching then?
I wasn't watching content creators. So the thing with me, I was very ignorant at the time. Like because I didn't have social media up until COVID. Like prior to that, I wasn't really into like having, and even now that I still have it, I'm not really comfortable with being on social media because I don't know, I just never really been into it. So I didn't really look at people's content. I was more so just passionately creating it. And then people would send me people that I reminded them of, and they would be like, oh, like I think you should check this person out. You should go on this podcast. So it's almost like being a kid and hearing it for the first time, and you like start listening. You're like, wow, there's other people out there that think like me. So I would pick it up as I go. But a lot of my red pill like tendencies or the core of it just came from like the men who raised me. And I would have to say like, I think it's a survival kit. I think like once you learn it and your head is above water, you have to grow and evolve from it, not continuously sit in that echo chamber.
Okay. And so when your followers on TikTok start telling you to go on Fresh and Fit, is that like the first time you had ever even heard of them?
I would say by the time I was told to go on there, it was probably like 2 months into me seeing them. And I agreed with a lot of their talking points because I grew up in the beauty industry where the types of women that go into nail salons and the hair salons, they're the type of girls who like to be done up. And so it fit for the type of girls that the Fresh and Fit girls, like they aim for, you know, like it's not like the average Martha that's there all the time. I barely see Martha, but I see, you know, Susanna all the damn time. I see, you know, Jessica all the time. So it was hard to differentiate the two.
Yeah, well, and it seems like they have a selection bias for the types of women, not only that they bring on, but the types of women that they're talking about for the most part. Like, I believe that the women they're talking about exist. They just seem to exist in like specific places and specific groups. It doesn't seem to be as broad for women as they seem to talk about, because lots of times they talk about like women very broadly and generally, and I don't know those women. I live in Atlanta, and I like in the South with a bunch of country folks. Like I don't know these people.
Yeah, like okay, so for me, being in Tampa, there was a split between like super like old money people and then like new money people. And I would say like the new money people were very into that lavish lifestyle, and I grew up really like poor, like dirt poor. So for me, once we started building up the business that we had, like I think I was getting more exposed to those type of people for all the wrong reasons, because again, like women are always looking for exposure or like, you know, ways to get up in life and an easy route out. And that's just the reality of those type of girls, because they're okay with taking the handout. I think a lot of other women that I'm meeting now, want to work for what they have in life, and they rather do things right so they don't have to get thrown in their face. It tends to backfire a little bit either way, but I could definitely see the moral compass for one than the other.
Okay. So when you went on Fresh and Fit the first time, is that when you first went on with like it was Destiny, Melina, Not So Erudite, all those people?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you say that you're getting like mass reported and getting a lot of hate, is that all of that same time frame?
Yeah, that was that time frame. I was in the peak. I was literally in the peak of my like TikTok. I had like 3 TikToks. But yeah, wow, that's so crazy. You bring back that memory of those people. I went back and made peace with all of them. Anyone out here that is a Destiny fan, I made peace with Destiny. I was so unhinged and barbaric and on that podcast in specifics. Like, I'm not proud of that era of my life and my, I don't know, terminology and my vocabulary. I was like, who the hell let me speak? Like, who let me talk? That was the original Ange. And I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing.
So what do you think that you did that you regret from back then?
Well, I mean, to me, it was just, I was very passionate because I think that I only know like the survival, like I would say like if you look at a lot of people that support the red pill stuff, they're kind of ghetto, to be really honest. Like it's like a very ghetto crowd. I don't care what anyone says. You can argue with me on that shit. And I would say like because I grew up that way, my tonality was that way. I was very much like men don't need to feel, men don't give a shit about that. They care about being appreciated. But the reality is I think that men do feel. I know they do feel. It's just not the priority. It's more like, can we get some solutions first? And I think that we need to learn each other and understand that men and women are complementary. But I didn't focus too much on that. It was more so looking at the disadvantages that men had and like the antagonizer, which is the women. And I think that the way I came off on that podcast, I was more so trying to deliver that message to the girls there. But I also had no idea that who Destiny was and his wife, and then Erudite. I didn't know what debating was. I didn't know what streamer world. I didn't know any of that stuff. So for me, I was just like, an underage kid with a driver's license, just unhinged on a podcast, and I really had no business being there. I had no business being there.
So was that like your first shot at like, doing other content besides TikTok, was going on that Fresh and Fit show?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, it was crazy.
And did you get a lot of calls after that to do other stuff?
Yeah, I had a lot of people reach out to me, and I also had a lot of hate. Like that was my first big oopsie. Like Destiny burned me pretty bad. I don't blame him though. I was so disgusting to him afterwards that he, like if Destiny puts the light on you, you either thrive or you burn. It's between the two. And when he did that, like my entire account got nuked. Like all of them were gone, and I was like livid. And that's when I woke up and I was like, dude, you're just a TikToker. Like, who do you think you are? Like, so I had to like wake up and be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you? That was the beginning of me learning to not judge people. I think like the red pill space forces you to think that everybody has to be the same. Like you have to be some alpha macho, you have to be some concubine submissive chick. And that's just not the reality. Like I know a lot of people that are different. I think that they don't speak for a lot of people, and I know they don't want to hear that. But what about my emo friends? What about my gamer friends? What about my anime friends? Like they're not all like they don't have to look like Mr. Muscle Juicehead to find a girl. And I think that that's something that I didn't understand. So if you were different, I would most likely judge you. If you were in a open relationship, I would judge you. And that's where everything went downhill, because that's where a lot of people would disagree. Like you shouldn't be that way. But to them, it was like shaming is normal. Shaming is normal. And that's where a lot of people would bring up my past. Like, well, you shamed people all the time. I'm like, yeah, I agree. I denounced a lot of it. And this is the frustrating part is like, I've denounced everything that I've done, but those videos aren't going anywhere. Like they're around, they're floating on some other fucking Reddit thing. But yeah, I do recognize like now, because I took the time out to take like a certification course to like study like people to do life coaching and all that crap. Because I thought that that's what I needed to do. And I ended up learning the core of a lot of things. And I was like, dude, like there's a way to deliver your message to reach the masses and not get nuked all the time. Like, they always say the Matrix is after me. No, you're after you. You did it to yourself. You put yourself in the corner, and then you want everyone to look at you. And all we see is a hurt little kid yelling. And now that I say that, they're like, oh, you're just trying to tend to feelings. And I'm like, but feelings have truth to it. You just don't give a shit enough to care about it. So
what, like you said that you got a lot of backlash afterwards because you were running your mouth towards Destiny. What were you saying that you got in trouble for? Was it just the open relationship stuff, or was there
well, yeah,
specific
again, like
things?
the red pill stuff, like, well, it's pretty much like force you to think like you have to be in a like monogamous relationship, like, or like the guy can have it open and you have to have it closed. You have to be at home making butter from scratch and no Instagram, no like anything like they would challenge you to make you feel like if you are a working woman, which by definition I'm a feminist because I work. So I mean, like, you can't really argue with that. But they would kind of make you feel like shit for that. And it was like, what are you doing? Why do you have an Instagram? And why doesn't someone so? And I couldn't really answer it. And I was like, honestly, I don't know. So the more like I was being questioned on these things, I was like, I don't actually fit with this. Like this doesn't make sense for me. And like whatever it is that they're selling, I'm like, this doesn't align with my actual core values because everything that I have, I built from scratch. So for me, it was like, this doesn't actually work. I'm not just like a bimbo waiting at home for my person and my man and my family to provide for me. So it just didn't really align with me. And at the same time, because I've worked for these things, I've had to suppress it because they're like, oh, you're a boss bitch. I don't claim myself as that. I have done a lot of things that I'm proud of, but I don't sit here and call myself that. But if I'm a boss bitch for retiring my family, cool, that's fine, whatever. But I think that's pretty lame that I constantly get put in that bubble.
That's cool. So yeah, I didn't know until literally like as I'm getting off stream last night, somebody said like, oh yeah, she got into a fight with Destiny after the Fresh and Fit podcast. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So I went and looked, and there was one clip that I saw right at the beginning of you saying, what was it? Like, I don't, you sucked a dick, so I automatically don't respect you or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm asking specific things, that's the only thing that comes to mind. So there was like a lot else going on besides that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very judgmental. Like, again, like I think growing up in a space where like, like my family, they're super Asian and I'm born here. So to me, I was confused with like modern living and then like traditional values. And when you see someone who's gay or trans or blue hair, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense. Like, who are you? What Digimon creature are you? So I think for me, it was just like not judging that, because I think I watched something where I think it was one of his clips where he was talking about like conditioning people, like gender roles. And it was just kind of like, who says that it has to be man and woman kissing? Why can it be man and man? Like, why have we been conditioned to think that that is normal? And I was like, fuck, you made a point. All right, fair. So to me, it's like, I guess like for me, it's what I'm used to. But maybe in another world, that's what they're used to. And I have to respect that because they're not harming me. They're not pushing that on me. And that's where I draw the line with that specific topic.
And so I saw that kind of like shortly after this, you seem to take some time off. Is that how long after the Fresh and Fit podcast was that?
Okay, so the sticky situation was, so one of the guys was really close with one of the employees with Fresh and Fit, like right-hand guy. I don't want to get into too much details with that because and that's like one of the worst parts of everything was, they had him and like 5 other people reach out to me to collab and make a podcast because I had my own.
Okay.
But a lot of them required me to move like really far, and I didn't want to move. And this was the closest one. So, I was like, damn, I've been in Tampa my whole life. I kind of want to migrate. I need to like break out of this little shell with my family, and I want to do this. So they were very supportive, and I might have stretched the truth a little bit and told them like, things are going to be very well. But it was 50-50 between the connections and the already built and everything. And this person had told me like, I have the green light from everyone. You should move here. You should do this. And it'll go very well. And also I have another business that was a little rocky at the time that I was getting the manufacturer moving. And I was like, damn, this would be a place to get it manufactured in Miami. So I was like, all right, it's a 2-in-1 combo. I'm going to move there. When I moved here, it was nothing that I actually, it was all a lie. It was like fucking dreams on dreams on dreams. This person had lied to the person, had lied to me. And at this point, I had told my entire family that I moved here. So I was like, fuck, like I gotta kind of hold this and just stick it through. And I tried to do it for, I think, like 6 or 7 episodes. And I was just like, this is just turning into like a hate bash thing. And it's getting really unhealthy and it's not representing my message. And we barely get to tap into the core of the things I want to talk about. So I was like, why am I doing this? So I quit. And then it was like all raged. And it was a lot of like drama because everybody was like, oh, you broke up this and that. I was like, dude, I didn't know this. And I look like a homewrecker in this work situation when this guy here lied about his connections with everybody and then thought that he could keep both. Like, it was just some messy shit.
Okay. And so, but you're still in the same place, yeah? Because I watched a video of you saying, like, I'm back, it's been 8 months, and it looks like you've got the same poster behind you. So are you still in the same place?
Yeah, no, I still live in Miami. I just chose to not associate myself with those people because I had a lot of people in that same community reach out to me, like wanted to feature me on, and like I went on like one, but this guy was talking about Passport Bros, and that's when it hit me. It was like this little skinny black guy that was like a DJ at like a strip club talking about how women were so shitty, and he was like, I need to go to Colombia and find me a fine chick because Passport Bros are it. And I was like, maybe you're the problem. And he was like, why would you say that? Women reject me all the time. And I was like, where do you meet your women at? He's like, I work. I'm like, you work in a strip club, dude. Like, what do you expect? I think that's when it hit me. And I was like, wait. The only people who are screaming these Passport are the losers who surround themselves with these type of women and they get mad. So for me, that's when I opened up my eyes like slowly in increments, but like really fast. Because I was like, while I was here, I was like, I moved here. I need to make every moment worth it. So I constantly was like working and saying yes to a lot of things I didn't want to say yes to. And every time I would see that, it was like they were just trying to utilize me for my voice, but they weren't actually trying to listen. Like they didn't want to have like a debate. They didn't want to like listen to what I was trying to say. So I do still live in Miami, but I don't associate myself with those people. And then once I stopped doing that, I recognized like other people that they were watching me from a distance, didn't like how aggressive I was, but did like my passion. So they were like, like if you want to, we can reach out, we could work. And then that's where I'm at.
So forgive me, I did some research last night before all of this so I could have some questions, and I'm trying to piece a lot of this together. So is that when you went on the Whatever podcast, or is this a different conversation about Passport Bros?
No, so the Passport Bros is the Whatever pod is when I officially announced it like publicly. Like with that guy I just told you about. He was another red pill creator, and he was just like, creating his own, and he was just like, oh, you should come on, and I was like, oh fuck, okay, cool. And then once I saw that, I was like, ugh. But then the Whatever pod guy, that's a weird guy. Let's just start with that. Like yes. I'm so like torn with talking about like people in the space because I've been on their shows. And a part of me is like, these people ask me to come on their shows. I don't owe them loyalty, but a lot of them are really weird behind closed doors. The hospitality is very strange. And then once you're there, you do see, again, their motives. It's not a dating podcast. It's an exposing podcast. They don't actually care about women and men actually learning each other. Like Brian, for example, the guy, he asked me like 5,000 times to go on the show. And I was like, dude, you're all the way in Santa Barbara. I'm in Miami. I just moved here. I'll let you know when I'm free. And then he reaches out to me again when I got situated, and I was like, fuck. Like the thing with me is like I don't like being messy with business with people. Like if somebody says do this, I'll do it. I don't like to be me. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. But I don't want to say yes and then not come through, and then I seem like a messy person, like she's a flaker. So the problem with me is like, I think I keep trying to hold up my end of the bargain with people, and then when I find out that it didn't really matter, it pisses me off to see that there was no code of conduct with these people. And to fly all the way out there for this guy to have super chats or TTS read over me the entire time, I was like, this is so fucking stupid that this guy only cares about capitalizing on the incels who want to like donate $100 to tell this girl to shut up. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is the stupidest thing in the world. And for him to be sitting there selling pocket pussies and shit, I'm like, dude, this is the most incel shit I've ever seen. It was like the oxymoron of you trying to be a high value guy or whatever the hell he thinks this is, and putting me there to talk about absolutely nothing. Their rebuttal to a lot of things. And from leaving that podcast is when I told myself that I was going to have more of a debating mindset. Because when I challenged him on the Passport Bros thing, and Sterling Cooper was like, that's why you don't bring him over here. And I'm just like, that's the stupidest fucking like answer ever. Like if you're a high value guy, as you say, you should be able to survive to bring them over here. Like, you think that girl married you to stay in her country? No, she married you to come see the land of opportunities, dude. But I wasn't really strong at, I'm again, like the oxymoron of being in the red pill space is like, you can't be combative. But like, if my part-time job is to debate or like to challenge people in their thoughts, I'm gonna have to be combative. So then what I've learned from all this is, dude, just be submissive to the person you're sleeping with. I don't owe the rest of the world submission. Like, that's the crazy part about it. I don't have to walk around like I'm a dainty lilac. That's ridiculous. So from leaving that podcast, I was like, they took the worst clips of me, typical people, and they posted it. My editor put a bunch of great clips out of me from that podcast. And they posted it, but these guys didn't repost it because it was like, oh no, it's not fitting the narrative that men are the victims and women are assholes. So we're not going to post that. She's challenging our views on men. Fuck that. So I was like, all right, I see the motives now. So.
Yeah, it's I had Pixie and Aaron on last week, and they were both on the Whatever podcast, and that's one of the things that I was talking to them about. Is it's not like a regular political podcast or anything like that. They are an anti-feminist podcast. Like that's what it's about. It's about like any sort of feminist narratives, not just the feminism as a movement, but any sort of feminist talking point or any sort of empowerment of women or anything with women having their own life, you know, separated from a man or being independent. Like that's what the entire podcast is let's bring on women who are kind of ditzy, don't know what they're talking about. You know, they'll get a selection bias of like, you know, Instagram models who have no reason to go study this stuff and have any clue what they're talking about. And then they bring them on and like, oh, look, here it is. This is your modern woman. This is what they're like. I don't know any Instagram models. I don't know any chicks like this. That's not the modern woman. Nobody is like them. But then I watched you talk about the Passport Bro guy a little bit, and it was funny that you're kind of pointing out like you're not a high value man if you have to go to another country to get a woman. If you were high value, you could just get a woman here, but instead you have to go somewhere else to where you can like persuade this woman that you're actually high value. And then once you bring her back here, she's going to realize you're not high value. And like you said, he answers and says, well, then just don't bring her back. That was mind blowing.
I was so, the answers that they shot at me, I couldn't even, like, I remember at one point when Brian goes like, inflation, and I was like processing, like, did you just like create a word to like enable more victim mentality for this bullshit? And he was like saying like how men have to work 10 times harder now, you know, than their grandpa ever did for mediocre pussy. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I was like, the accessibilities that both people have nowadays to reach to each other is ridiculous that they would assume that. I was like, you know, my grandpa and my uncles did not have the accessibilities that we have now. They didn't have Tinder. They didn't have all the dating apps. They didn't have social media. They didn't have podcast platforms to reach a bunch of hot chicks to come on. So for them to say that, I was like, that was the stupidest rebuttal. And like, I had to like function what they were saying. So of course they take that clip and they're just like, you know what? Dude, Sterling Cooper owns modern women. And I was like, honestly, fuck all you guys. You guys are fucking losers. So I thought that was pretty lame.
Okay, so the Whatever, so I don't remember. So was the Whatever podcast before or after you took time off?
It was like I took time off and then I went on there. Like I was like, okay, I'll try this again because I didn't want to have like a mindset of like, you know, screw all of this stuff. Like I still wanted to be like open-minded about it. And I felt like I was confident enough to go on it. But when I was there, I was like, I am not confident. More so when I got the message of what to wear when I got there, I was more so like, what's up with these podcasts? Always wanting me to fucking dress up like a slut to go to these things. I was like, I don't understand the mess. Like, wear cosplay or wear party clothes, and you can't wear black and you can't wear this. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna show up in a zipper jacket. I don't really care. I was like, if you're gonna kick me off for that, then that's fine. That says a lot about what your main motives are. But then I was there, I saw him tell girls to take off certain jackets, you know, to move a certain purse because it was covering her tits. Yeah. You know, like I saw all of that and I was like, this is ridiculous. And it's just like him framing certain super chatters because they were donating so much money, you know, just to prove to them like he respects them. I was like, you're enabling sim culture. You're the exact reason why these girls exist. As much as you hate them, they exist because you enable them. So like, can you really be mad at these girls for existing when there's people still willing to pay an arm and a leg? It's like, these guys are the reason why. They hate all these girls, but they go and follow their Instagrams afterwards.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people describe it as like torture porn, where it's just a bunch of guys who come to just send mean messages to the girls while they're on there and say mean things about them, and they get off on knowing that these girls know that they hate them, or they know that they heard some robot version of their voice through the TTS, and that's what all of their fans seem to show up for. So when you took time off, what made you decide to come back?
That's a good. Well, between him asking me again, I had another. So I have different accounts from the salt business I have. So I had a new account that was like, hey, we want to have your salt here. So it was like an hour from that. So I usually gather up like multiple reasons to travel if I have to. So I had reasons to go there. So I was like, let me just go all at one time, just knock some things out. So it was like a all 3-in-1 thing.
So you make a video saying like, hey, I've been gone for 8 months, I'm coming back. Was that before or after the whatever podcast?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't exactly remember. The reason why I posted that video is because I didn't have direct content on my YouTube. So I don't actually know the timeline, to be really honest on that. I wasn't directly posting on my YouTube. And I know like with me with YouTube, I want to be consistent if I'm going to do it. And I wasn't consistent at the time. Like I wasn't in the right headspace, and I also didn't have a direction. Like to me, it was like I don't align with the red pill stuff anymore to create content, and I didn't want to continue leaving that digital footprint. So I was doing like TikToks from here and there, but it wasn't like anything substantial. But then at the point where when I posted on YouTube, like, hey, I'm back, I wanted to confirm like I'm going to be committed to doing this, because I think if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. It was after I came back from the whatever pod, and I had made up my mind, like, you know, I'm no longer going to go on these panel podcasts. I'm just going to just do my own and talk about things I want to talk about. And my channel is like super chill, super boring. I don't have like crazy edits or anything. Because I was trying to just shake off what I only knew was the YouTube space. And to me, it's like, that's not the only type of world, and I don't have to cater to that type of audience. And that's when I started learning the analytics of like, you know, the YouTube stuff.
Okay, so when you come back, you kind of have an issue with red pill and are separating yourself from red pill. I've changed my mind about things numerous times where like I can look back and see there was some inkling of something that I started to figure out that kind of made like a broad shift in my beliefs after that. Did that happen for you? Is there a thing that you think back on and think, this is like a red pill talking point that I started to see issues with, and that really opened my eyes to a bunch of other things?
I mean, there's 1,000 things that I can name, like honestly, but I mean, it
Well,
sucks
so name
because
some.
like,
What are some things that you had issues with?
I think the one I had an issue was with the high value term. Like I really can't stand that phrase, because I think that you have these guys that are 40, 50 years old that are comparing themselves to these 20-year-olds, telling them you need to make this much money, you need to be this tall, you need this fit. And I'm like, half of these guys are raised in single homes. Like they don't even have the advantages to do drop shipping, and you're talking to them, selling them a fake dream. So to me, that's when like it really, because I have a little brother that I don't speak to. He like hates women. And just because we were raised, so it's hard for me to talk to him. And like for me, I feel like I have to be super straight arrow, because I don't want to be that type of chick that he hates. Regardless where we talk to each other or not, I think it's important that to not have that type of resentment towards the people that are angered with their childhood. And I've said to him 1,000 times, like, dude, like I had it way worse than you. I was first born. I don't know what your issue is, but I get it. I'll empathize for that. So I think looking back at everything, hearing the high value term, like I think that's where I realized like these guys are building up walls against their own gender. They're making other young men feel like shit for not being tall enough, making them insecure, more insecure than they already are, making them feel like if they don't make enough money, then fuck everybody, screw all these hoes. But I'm like, the reality is like women in the West are more okay with building with a man than women in, you know, Asia or Europe, because to them it's like the women in that country are raised to be wives. So when you marry them, you're expected to give them everything and provide for them, protect for them. But the women here are similarly raised like men. Like we all have to go to school, we all have to work. So when a girl gets with a guy, she's more likely to pay half the bill with you, split the rent with you, more to build with you, if you emotionally tend to her so she can, you know, physically tend to you. And I think that's something that I didn't realize before. But the high value shit just really taught me like, what, you have to be 6 feet tall? Says who? My man's not 6 feet tall. My man's not six figure. What are you talking about? And to me, that's when it started hitting me that somebody's like, oh, if your man's not or high value, then you're not relatable. I'm like, dude, high value dudes are, in your definition, subjective, I guess. On top of that, it's like only 5 or 10% of these guys. So what about the rest of the population? Like, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what I was talking about before with the women that seem to exist in some certain areas of the country. I think it's the same for these types of cultures, where a lot of what they're talking about probably does exist, where it is very materialistic and kind of surface level sorts of engagements between the genders. But where I'm from, that's just not really how it is. Like I'm the people around here don't have to be these like 6'3" chads in order to have good looking women. They don't have to have, you know, 6-figure income. They don't have to have these mansions or nice cars. There's good looking women everywhere in every, you know, in every income class. It might make it more likely. Sure, I'm not going to disagree with that. Being good looking and having a lot of money is probably going to open up a lot of doors that being ugly will not open up. But there's a lot of things that you can do to make up for that, and they don't seem to talk about that. They talk about things that you can't help a lot. Even things like income, you can't do a lot about, you know, what kind of class you grew up in, whether or not your parents paid for you to go to college, or you know, whether or not you got a good education where you live. So is there, are there other issues that you felt like bothered you more about the way that they look at women?
Yeah, well, I'm going to speak off of what my experience was, because I know, like, when I speak to some other people that are knee deep into it, they're like, well, that's not what the actual red pill is. So I'm going to say based off of what the surface entertainment space is, which is the one that I was in. I generally feel like when I couldn't say the word I feel. And I'm like, well, that's another thing. Like, why the fuck am I limited to saying that? Because these guys act like they don't feel. I'm like, if you didn't feel, there wouldn't be a raging podcast with a vein popping out of your forehead, bro. You do feel. You're just acting like you don't. And because nobody can challenge them on it, these girls are so like, oh my God, someone called me my number. So they're so fixated in their feelings that they don't realize that this guy is a hypocrite talking to you. So I think that the way that they treat women in specifics, it's hard to believe that they don't look at them like objects, when I consistently hear testimonies of it. Like, I meet a bunch of women here all the time, and I started, you know, the whole coaching stuff. And the amount of girls that told me that they met, like, here's another thing, like, when I stopped judging women on what they do for work, I had more of them feeling like they could express to me to be vulnerable. And that's when I realized, like, if you're going to be an asshole, expect people not to be vulnerable to you. The same way how, like, men don't want to be vulnerable in front of women. Women don't want to be vulnerable in front of a guy who's going to laugh at her face. She's going to be in her masculine. That's just, it's a human, like, instinct. So a lot of these girls started telling me, you know, these stories of this guy, and it's consistent, of him meeting women on the Seekings and then, like, inviting them over and saying, no funny business, it's just going to be for fun, they're just hanging out, no weird stuff. And these girls get there and he's just shoving himself on them. And I'm just like, you know, that's a liar. Like, on the last Valuetainment podcast I was on, I was like, these guys say that they're high value, but all you do is lie. You know, if you didn't lie, you have a 50-50 chance of sleeping with her or her rejecting you. And you either have to learn to spit better game and be real, or understand that you need to accept that she's not that into you. And the girl next to me that was an OF girl was like, I would have still slept with this guy if he told me that he didn't take me seriously, because she just wanted at that moment his attention, his validation. And I think that most of these guys don't believe that. So to them, it's like, she's just an object. I'm just here to smash her, but I'm going to be really nice and fake to her and then sell her a dream and then kick her to the curb. And to me, it's just a very soulless way to live. And then hearing, like, one of the guys, Jay Waller, say, like, I won't simp for my daughter. I just think that's such an asshole thing to say. If there's a woman that you should simp for, it should be your daughter, at least. Like, she came from you, bro. Like, easy up. So I mean, once you start seeing the inconsistency of it, because I do believe in traditional core values, seeing these guys speak about women this way and then say, like, the contradiction of, oh, we do love women. What do you love about the waist down? Is that it that you love about women? Because I don't see you actually caring about how to coexist with them. Like, they don't care for it, and I don't see it. It's hard to believe it. It's like me saying anything but not living by it. So
Yeah, they'll say a lot of things like, oh, I love my mom and I love my sister, so I can't be a misogynist or something like that. It's like, I don't think that's how that works.
yeah, and you look at all of them, none of them are in, like, relationships. Like, I think, like, for me, I got engaged like September, and then, like, our relationship really got really good when I moved here. I think we had to really focus on our communication emotionally and verbally. And then you learn to build trust and all this stuff, like, beyond challenging things that we didn't do before. And to see these guys not being relationships and constantly saying what men want, what women want, I'm like, are you a woman? What do you know what women want? You know what hoes want. And even then, that's temporary, because you actually don't know what hoes want beyond the physical needs. So, you know, a lot of these guys don't actually see that, and they don't want to admit to that. And I just think it's just crazy. Like, damn, I wish I could say this one story, but I'm torn because I just want to be honest. It's more work to lie, but if I speak the truth, it's like, oh, you're a snake, or you didn't get what you want, so you're dropping everyone out. But it's like, but it happened. These people are quick to drag my shit on Twitter because I attacked one person that was a piece of shit, and instead of saying, well, he did fuck up, they all decided to dogpile on me. But I have to give them the gratitude of privacy and discretion. Because what? Everyone respects them? I don't care. I didn't buy the bullshit ticket they sold. So it's just kind of frustrating because it's like, these people don't live up to what they say. I see it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even what you brought up with the Whatever podcast, we've mentioned numerous times how they're like hypocritical in the way that they'll tell girls like, move your cup, out because the camera's blocking their boobs, or he'll say things like, what does he say? He tells, I forget the exact phrase that he uses, but he pretty much tells them to like sit up straight so that he like says, he does a lot of this stuff to make sure that he's getting the clickbait on there.
Milking up every super chat that comes in. And again, that was another thing when like I was there and the one girl was like, they were talking about rating yourselves. And to me, it was like, I forgot about that part, and I'm mad at myself for even participating in that, because to me, again, it's so fucking dehumanizing. Like, my man, he treats me like a princess, and I'm here letting strangers rate me. You don't pay my bills. You don't love me. You've never had my back. You don't get to rate me. So for me, sitting there at that moment, I was like, my uncle, my dad would not want me to be sitting in this chair. Like, I was like, I'm not, like, it wasn't the best. I don't know how these girls can sit there, and I guess that's the price you pay to get like a new subscriber in your OF or whatever, but to me, I didn't like that feeling. And then for someone to say like, you're not like religious enough for me, so I'm not going to give you 10. I don't give a shit, you baldy. I didn't ask you for your opinion. And I can't believe I even agreed to this. And then, like, I think one super chat read out some racist shit. Like, nobody ever calls you by my name in this space. Let's start with that. They always call me the Asian chick, the chink, the China. And these guys actually read out the super chat because it's $200. And to me, it's like, that's the price that you're willing to read out for the dignity as a man. Where is your fucking honor code as a human man? Like, as a grown-ass man, you're willing to read this out loud instead of saying, hey, guys, these are the guests. Be respectful. If it's going to be rude, I'm not going to read it. If you want to pay and be dumb, that's on you. Set the boundaries and standards. So that's what the men in my life do. And when I don't see people doing that, it's just disgusting.
So did he actually say the word too?
Yes.
Oh my.
So my friend Rudy, Rude Advice, he had pointed it out and he made a video on it and he called Brian out on it. And of course, Brian didn't reply to it. And he was just like saying, like, you read out a super chat knowing it was like racist and you all chuckled at it also. And to me, it was like, that happened there. And also like Myron, like when I was out that podcast also, because I didn't want to, I don't drink. I didn't participate with that. And also like, I was very uncomfortable posing like all the girls like do this thing when they suck their gut in and like poke their ass out. Like, I never do stuff like that. Like, I don't really take photos. Like, I didn't spend majority of my youth focusing on my looks. So I don't fit the metric as a Miami girl. I'm aware of that, but I don't really give a fuck. Like, it's not their validation I care about. If we're saying that men are logical and women are emotional, then challenge me on the logics that I'm shooting at you. But instead of that, you're insulting me because I don't look like the typical bitches that you're used to fucking. It doesn't matter because I don't want to fuck you. So what does it matter? It's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So because of that, like the entire evening, he was like, yo, China, go stand over there. Go sit there. And yeah, it was very strange. It was very like annoying. But I never understood, like, sounds super lame to say, but I never understood why assaulted victims don't speak up in spaces. Like, you always see like people that come up like, why didn't you speak up sooner? Because you worry about the community attacking you for speaking up for these things, because they're gonna be like, oh, you're making this up. We don't believe you. Where's your proof? You're just a hater. So no, I really understand why people don't speak up in these type of spaces, because you start wondering like, I should just ignore it and it'll go away. But then it keeps happening with these people consistently. Everyone that's affiliated in Sims, they all act the same way. They all have this like God superior idea, figure who they are. And I'm like, I'm not tolerating this shit. And that's why that shit happened on Value Tame, because I'm fucking tired of tolerating this. Like, screw this.
Well, I mean, look, I can't make any promises. I know you're getting a lot of help, but I know in my space, I've seen nothing but like support for you and a lot of people who were really upset with the crap that you were getting, and a lot of people, fighting not just on your behalf, but against all of these people for, you know, a lot of us have been railing against these guys for a long time. And so you happen to be in the right place at the right time with the MLD situation. And I from my vantage point, there was a lot of people who were having a lot of fun with that, and they really enjoyed everything you did. So if there's stuff that you want to share, I'm sure a lot of people here are here for it, but there's no pressure. So I see you, like, you've been on a number of podcasts. You got invited onto is it called the SOS podcast?
Yeah.
And how many times did you go on there?
So I think it's 3 times now. 3 times. Yeah, 3 times.
Okay. And so one of those times, MLD was in the comments talking crap. What was he saying?
So to back up the whole story, like, the guy he's been on there a couple of times. So he's whatever, everyone knows him. But I didn't know him as MLD. So in the comment section I was on the second time before this last one, he was in the comment section. I have fucking screenshots of this bullshit. Because they took down the live chat. I don't know why they did that, but that made me look like a fucking liar. But whatever. The guy was like, is this chick supposed to be attractive? Who's letting her talk? Ha ha ha. Like, this is a joke. And then it was like, she's 40 pounds too heavy for me. LOL. And then there were even people in the comments who was like, bro, you're tripping. Like, get over that. Like, what's your point? What's the, like, it was like, because I was saying things that a woman shouldn't say. It bothered him that a guy should have said it. So because I'm saying it made sense in the ear, but physically it was like a chick is saying it. So I'm just gonna shit on her because she shouldn't be saying it, and that should be me saying that. In his mind, in my truest opinion, I think he wanted to be in that chair, and he wanted to have the spotlight. And because my raggedy ass was there, I was the target.
And so you saw this afterwards, or did you see this during the show?
No, I didn't see it during the show, but then, like, I had some people screenshot it and sent it to me and was like, do you have beef with MLD? And I was like, what? And then Nat was like, yeah, do you have a problem with MLD? I was like, wait, who's MLD again? And like, I only knew him as what the fuck did I know as Jonathan. So to me, I didn't know like MLD. And I seen some of his clips where I thought it was humorous. Like, I liked, like, oh, this guy's a little bit of a fucking, like, I have a mouth. I say things that I shouldn't say. And I was like, okay, I could see that as entertainment. But then, like, when I saw that, I was like, what was the relevance of saying this? I was like, what the fuck? So that was my own, like, whatever. So then the day that I got invited to come on, I didn't know that nobody knew what was going on. I assumed that Nat knew, like, I was gonna drag this guy. And I assumed that Adam knew, because if Nat knew, a lot of people said that we ambushed him, that was premeditated. I think it's fair to say that if it was premeditated, Nat would have had a way better attitude, because I would have been like, hey, act better so we can do this. But like, she didn't know what I was going to do. That's why she was dragging ass, because she was supposed to be on that panel. And I don't know who did, but they invited so much girls that she had to sit there and do this, because she wanted to be me and her versus Adam and him, like two versus 2. And I didn't know that until after the show, because like, I'm sitting there and I'm in the waiting room and I see this guy come in. Wait, are you asking me questions, or I just keep telling the story? I don't want to like rant off.
You're good. Okay.
But yeah, I see him walk in, and then I'm like fuming, because Joey is the guy who like gets all these people on. So he introduces everyone. So he's like, MLD, this is everyone, shake hands. And I was like, I'm not shaking hands with this fucking asshole. I was like, no, fuck that. I was like, this guy's disgusting. I was like, ew. And in my mind, like, I was just like, okay, he's gonna be a little dick, that's fine. And then he wouldn't just like trying to walk around everybody. He was like checking out the room. I was like, okay, whatever. So we go on the show, and I see Adam with the cue cards. So I'm like, what are we talking about today? Like, I hate, like, I never know what we're talking about. But I'm like, it is what it is in the showbiz, whatever. So 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I don't even know how long it was going to the show. We were going through several topics, and I can see that we're slowly wrapping up. I was like, wait, we didn't talk about this, 1. And then 2, Adam consistently keeps saying, like, MLD, do you think this girl has trauma issues? Do you think this and that? I'm like, wait, it's almost like me insulting your mother and then you having to come serve me for dinner. Like, you have to be my waiter. Do you want to serve me dinner if I insulted your mother and your family? That's like the most unhinged, disrespectful shit in the world. So I have to sit here, and it was a constant reminder of like, this space always makes me sit here and get rated by a bunch of losers. I don't want to be rated by a loser. So yeah, for him to sit there in his bullshit like, to say all these bullshit things like I want to go to Japan, women are just submissive, and I see this guy and I can't even find his fucking neck, and I'm like, you're over here talking about what you want out of a woman, and you don't really realize like women like Japan, like by the time they're 25, if they're not married, they're discarded. Nobody respects women in Japan if they're not married at a young age, and you're over there preying on these girls who are just like neglected because you're a loser who can't find love. You've moved to Japan, you still can't find love. But digressing from that, when he said like, oh, I don't want to traumatize women, like I'm very big into mental health. As for me, for men and women, we both have mental health. We all suffer some sort of trauma from our childhood or our adult life, and we don't often get to heal it, and we're just kind of like coping through life. And for someone to sit there in their high mighty horse, which is everyone in the red pill space, to say like, I want someone that's like impressionable, that just tells me that you're a weak ass bitch and you want to be with somebody that you can control. I'm so tired of like hearing that because I don't see these guys having healthy habits. So, long story short, when he said that, I pretty much was just like calling him out on it, because to me it was like, I don't care for the apology. It was more so the fact like, I'm not going to sit here and shake hands with you and have mutual spaces with people that we both know and know that you're being a keyboard warrior behind closed doors. I think that was like a very big bitch move. We don't have to like each other. There's a lot of people in the space that I don't operate and I don't like. But when we see each other, it's more of like a mutual of like, we don't have to like shake hands. We don't have to do anything. We just don't have to even like cross path. Like it's fine. So I thought that was a pretty bitch move, and I called it out, and I thought it was necessary for him to take accountability. And he didn't. And he pretty much just kept deflecting, and kept gaslighting. And then that's when I was just like, all right, bro, like you're a bitch. That's fine. Just accept it. So that's it.
So did you know about the, like, all of the other clips that were going viral about this guy going on to the show?
Well, so I saw 2 of his other clips when he was on the whatever pod, when he called a woman a bitch. And that's when I was just like, this guy has a potty mouth. He's always calling women shitty names. He's always like, his rebuttal is never stoic. It's never challenging. Like when I hear like, for example, like Andrew Tate, the guy can have his asshole views, but when he says certain things, he can get a stripper to sit quiet. Like, he can peel clementines and women be like, oh, all right, well, thank you. He doesn't have to call women a whore for them to sit quiet. And like the way that I see that this dork handles women, to me, it just shows me like some guy trying to find frame, and by thinking that it requires that much strength and energy and hate to get women to submit to him. So I've seen a couple of his clips, and then when Matt sent me the hit pieces that he made, this guy made like 5 hit pieces on her. Like, are you obsessed, you weirdo? He has a habit of like making hit pieces on women, but then showing up in their faces and then saying like, can I get a hug? Like he would go up to Nat, like, can I get a hug? Bro, you pulled up her Instagram and insulted her and said that she was a modern woman and look at her body and all this bullshit. It's incel behavior. And then you want everyone to shake your hand, and you want your boys to back you up on it because what? You put on a suit?
Yeah, I heard him talk about that on Donovan's show afterwards, where he was saying that he's like, yeah, my editor made a hit piece on her, and it was because she was making up lies about me, and so my editor just put together a whole thing and proved that she was lying, and it got like 1 million views. And he's like, she's mad at me now, but I had nothing to do with it. I got literally nothing to do with it. And even Donovan sitting there like, but yeah, like, you could take it down, and you're not taking it down, right? And he's still like, no, I don't know anything about it. That's my editor, man. It's like, it's your freaking channel, bro. Like, quit acting like you have nothing to do with this. You approve this stuff.
He runs the entire channel. He creates his thumbnails. I know I create my thumbnails. So I know what a person. Come on, bro. That's straight from Canva. Stop bullshitting your way through this. Like, stop acting like you don't have control over this. Like, I know a bullshitter when I see one. I know what it feels like to fake it till you make it. So don't sit there and act like you don't know that you're doing that, buddy. And the way that he handled everything, it was disgusting. Crying to Donovan about this, and Donovan being like 2 little girls like gossiping. This is the first time I've publicly spoken about it since it happened. And the amount of times that he's like spoken about it to so many people and reworded the story just tells me like, you're not a man. You're not a man. And I'm not going to sit here and continuously say that you are. I'm going to call you for what you are. You are a bitch. I don't care what anyone says. For anyone to call me masculine, that's fine. I'll accept that. I do not care. I don't owe the public and the world submission. I don't owe that at all. I don't need anyone from that. I have everyone in my life that's very happy with me, regardless of what everyone thinks. And that's all that matters. And when I see someone like him who wants to act like a woman, who runs his mouth and call women whores and bitches and all this stuff and lie and talk shit and cry to other men to save and defend him, that's just like bitch behavior. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, he is definitely a little baby. Like he's obviously very insecure, and that's why he wants to walk around talking crap about a bunch of women. And I only ever see him talking crap about women. I don't ever really see him talking crap about guys. He only talks crap about women, and he talks crap about their looks because like he's not gonna like intellectually spar with them or anything like that. You know, he can't actually like, you know, say that they're wrong or engage with them in a way that would actually be logical, because then he can get called out on it. So he can just, you know, throw out random insults here and there. And I don't know, how did he build his following? Do you know? Like, how did he even...
Well, from YouTube, he paid for it, for a fact. He paid for his YouTube subscribers because the guy has like 2 something and only has like 1,000 views. That's crazy. And then also kissing ass a lot in this space. Like, all he's done is kiss ass to everybody to go on their platform, to gain their followers and to gain their clout. And that's all he's done. And again, it's like the more I've noticed, like, if you're going to be on social media, you have to recognize the pros and cons of it. And I think that they don't recognize that it feminizes a lot of them because they turn into chatterboxers. You know, they turn into like these keyboard warriors. And to me, that's a very feminine thing to do. Like, women are notorious for being gossipers and being chatty and bratty and being like, you know, gossiping. And like, when I see a guy that does that shit, I'm like, dude, you're a woman. Because men don't often do that. Like, to me, I don't know men that do that. That's just like, unless it's what you do for a living, there's a way to carry yourself and not kind of lose your character and value.
Well, he also... So did you see the Donovan interview afterwards?
I saw pieces of it because Donovan's voice just makes me want to shove pencils in my ear. But I saw Destiny react, which again, shout out to Destiny. Again, like, Destiny's the real OG for that. I like Destiny not because of what he said. I like how unbiased he is. Like, it's not that he would favor me or anyone. He calls it for what it is, and that's what I really respect about him. It's not even anything. It's just the fact that I could care less about the blue hair. I could care less about the relationship, how he does it. I like the fact that if he says, yeah, you're a fucking liar, or you're a snake, or yeah, you know, I did say that. He owns up to what he says and does. And it had nothing to do with the fact that what he said was logical. It was just the fact that the dude was being honest. Donovan is a bitch. Like, I've challenged all these dorks to a one-on-one debate, and they've all said no to me. They've all been like, oh, you wish you could. Then quit talking shit, you dork. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You want to type back and forth with me all day long instead of just hashing this out once and for all? They don't want to have a conversation. But then, what's his name again? Tomasi was like, come on my panel in Vegas. That sounds like a net loss to me, bro. After what you did to me on Twitter, you're going to ask me to come onto your dog shit podcast? And to say, like, it could be a little intimidating to normal girls. I'm a nobody. That's fine. But if you're going to compare me to those hoes that you hate so much and then say, like, you're friends with an OnlyFans girl after talking about traditional values, dude, you hang around these whores all day long and you shit on them. Is that the assumption that you probably sleep with them too for a man that's married? And then for somebody that his daughter has been doxxed and harassed online, he did the exact same shit to me. For what? To defend his predator rapist friend? I was like, you were nowhere in this line of fire, bro. Like, you had no business doing that, but you did it out of what? Out of the leadership skills that you're providing to the men in this space. That was a bitch move. Excuse me?
Who did he defend?
MLD.
Did he really?
This all came after the MLD thing. And the first thing he did was what? Post my mugshot up. So to me, it was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing now. The dirty thing. And then what did he do? Dig up my family's Instagram, post that. And I'm very discreet about my life online. He pulled up my everything and like just posted every single thing up there. And for me, it was like, oh, okay, I see the route you want to take now. And then like once I checked him on a lot of these things, and we went one-on-one like through tweet, he just stopped replying to me. And then he DM'd me privately and then like was talking from there. And he was a lot more cordial and fucking rational through DMs, but through tweet, he was acting like big dick on campus. And I was like, this is wrong with these people in this space. They're so fake. They're so freaking fake because they're like, you know, they want to be bullies in front of their homeboys to be cool. But then when like I challenged, I was like, dude, do a one-on-one debate with me. If you really think you're so right and you're defending this freaking predator, let's talk about it. He's like, oh, I don't do debates with felons. I was like, oh, but you associate with Donovan and MLD. the guys who have the worst history of all, and you're gonna sit here and say that to me. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
So yeah, so I saw, and I posted this on Twitter as well, as him saying stuff like, I understand everybody's distancing themselves from MLD right now. They're trying to separate. And he's like, don't come to me about MLD. Go talk to him about that crap. I don't know anything about it. He never told me anything. So like, go talk to him. I mean, to me, that looked like him denouncing MLD. Like, to me, if I'm standing by my friends, I'm going to stand there and defend them. I'm going to be like, yo, they did nothing wrong. You guys are wrong about them. You know, I'm going to pull up receipts and crap. But him instead, he's like, yo, go talk to him. I got nothing to do with that. Me and all my friends, we have nothing to do with that. Don't come to us about MLD. So yeah, it looks like he's trying to get away from MLD now. So, okay. So Rollo Tomasi is doing a panel in Vegas, and he invites you on. What was it supposed to be for again?
Well, okay, so that's going back into we were going back and forth. And I was like, do a one-on-one so we can talk about why you felt like you needed to do it. I was like, you're not a man. I was like, aren't you the godfather of this stupid space? I was like, why would you do that? I was like, don't you have a daughter? So I found out whose daughter. So I was dropping his daughter's name. I was like, how would you feel if someone did this to your daughter? I'm like, wait, didn't that already happen? I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure she's very proud of you. And once I started speaking in that manner, he was just like, well, if you want to have a conversation, then you can come here to Vegas and I'll put you on the panel. I was like, to be in a dog shit panel, I'm good. I'm good. It seems like there's no benefit from that, buddy. I was like, I don't like your demographic. I don't like the way you are. I was like, and what you've done to me publicly online and for me to show up to your podcast, that seems more like an humiliation for me to show up to do that. Like for you to not even denounce anything and you want me, I'm like, if you want any sort of respect from me at this point, your best bet is to delete the thread. And I'm like, and you might actually survive what I'm about to come at you. I was like, because there's a lot of people that hate you, Tomasi, and I have a lot more heat that you think that you don't have. I have a lot more on you. I was like, and I have nothing to lose. I'm a nobody in this space. I don't have a platform to lose. I don't make my money from doing courses online. I've never once sold one of those bullshit courses. I was like, so don't think for 2 seconds that I'm scared to lose anything. I was like, you have a lot more to lose. But I think that, like, going back and forth, and he was like, well, you know, you might actually have something, you know, to offer. And I was like, no, as I remember you saying, you don't associate with felons. So for now, for you to go back on your word and invite me on your podcast after all this bullshit, I'm good. Another bullshit podcast. I was like, so again, these guys are very cordial behind closed doors. Once challenged one-on-one, their tone is different. But publicly to the world, they're a different person. And I just think it's just like very bitch behavior. You could have just mind your business and stay out of it. But you're still like trying to keep up with the Jones. I'm like, you're like 60, 70 years old with a crowd of like little incels saying that you've helped the world and all this shit. I was like, dude, you're walking around like fucking Walmart version of fucking Axl Rose. Like, get over this shit. So I'm so disgusted with the people in the space, and I'd rather disassociate myself from all of them because they're just pandering to each other at this point.
I mean, it seems obvious that they're different people when you're not in person with them. Like MLD sitting face to face with you, you're confronting him on the stuff that he said, and he's sitting there the entire time like, what did I say? Oh, I don't know. Did I say that? Oh, I don't know anything about this. And then all of a sudden he's on Donovan Sharp's podcast and he's like, oh, I was about to punch that chick, dude. I was gonna hit.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure if he had a champagne bottle in his hand, we all would have been done for. It would have been like 10 different criminal histories right there.
Yeah, Donovan's making jokes about like Duracell and you know, they're like I've seen him threaten women maybe 4 times now, saying that he's gonna hit the chick. Abba and Preach just came out with like a video about him apparently having charges in Japan. I haven't seen any receipts for this, so I don't know if this is actually true or not, but they've said that this is true. So
I have a lot of receipts. I have friends that are attorneys that pulled up. This guy has a lot. He has shit in Orlando for defamation. He has a lot. Like, this guy he doesn't care. Everywhere he goes, he leaves trails of where he's been. That's like, these people don't understand. Like, if you want to play dirty, watch me really act like a woman, and I could really play my goddamn role like you want to be. So it's tit for tat at this point. So I could definitely see why a lot of people don't want to speak up to them because they do gang up on you and they do act like they're so right. But they don't actually have what it takes to be a man. I don't think men actually act that way. And they're kind of ruining it for men who don't align with that. Because I do have a lot of men that will write, and I could see that what they post and what their lifestyle is. Like 80% of my analytics are men. So for me, for them to reach out and be like, who are these cornballs? Like, what is this? They're like, this is not how men act. Like, so to me, it's like the guys who actually have a voice, they don't ever platform them. They don't put them on their podcast because they would challenge them. They would check them. They only want the guys who think like them, who allow them to be this way. And they don't want the girls who they can capitalize on.
Yeah, it's all like bro logic. They go and find studies that already repeat back to them the things that they believed beforehand. They're not actually looking for studies that will challenge them or give them the truth. They want to use like common sense for a lot of crap and just start making stuff up, which that's been probably my biggest issue with the red pill is I'm like offended at what they think of men. I'm truly offended as a man that they think like I'm ready to just like rape every woman that I walk past and that I have no self-control and that I'm not capable of being respectful towards women, or that I'm not capable of having a relationship with a woman without trying to get in her pants. Like, just they have such a lack of respect for men, and they think so little of them, and it shows so much in the way that they talk about them. It's kind of obnoxious. So when I reached out to you, you said that you said that your audience had told you to come talk to me, and that you saw my review and were a little bit trepidatious on that. Was there something specific there that made you worried about talking to me?
It's not you in specifics. Like, I think like at this point now where if I don't see somebody wanting an open conversation or an open dialogue and they have like premeditated ideas about something, I just rather not sit here and try to change their mind. If somebody wants to talk about it, cool. But at the same time, it's like I've been in this space long enough to understand that everyone has a different personality, and I have to just kind of let it be. And I didn't really want to insert myself in any space because it's like, oh, you're clout chasing or whatever the hell it is. And for me to have like in my opinion, like the least amount of noise with the people that I've dealt with, for them to sit here and say that I'm clout, how, bro? Like, I don't have a fucking selling platform and anything that I'm doing for you to say that. Like, what is my profit on this for me to sit here and say that? So I just didn't want to like come out and just be like, hey, like, let's talk about this. It just seemed like I was looking for that. I was like, no, somebody sent me the video, and I saw it and I was like, yeah, I just that's understandable. Like, there's been a lot of mixed reviews, and I was like, people can make up their mind, because I mean the way I handled it, it was confusing for a lot of people because I was honestly trying to save him face. I didn't want to actually read out what he said. I was trying to like save him a little bit of dignity and just letting him like own up to it. And like the amount of times that he ran in circles, it just made it seem like I didn't remember. And I'm like, dude, I have like a memory that I can remember these things. Like, don't sit here now like I'm an idiot. So it was really frustrating because everybody was like saying like, why didn't you say it in the beginning? I was like, well, it's not my show. It's not my podcast. I can't just come in here and just say like, screw you, because he would have walked off before the show started. And then, like so on. Like, I was stuck between a rock and a hard place with everything. So it was kind of frustrating, like hearing everything and everyone. It was like my drama with Destiny all over again.
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, I was just, I mean, for anybody, I guess, watching, I was just trying to say that it seemed like some of his confusion was justified up until a certain point. You eventually explained more than enough. And after that, I was more than on your side on like, why is he still backing off of this? Like, why isn't he owning up to this? And why isn't he at least like apologizing or something? Like, it was, I was confused at first, but by the end of that, there was no confusion. You were very clear, and he was still being a little bitch. So it was a lot of fun.
I'm frustrated because I don't feel like anyone owes anyone an apology. I think it's more so just like, I'm not here to beat a dead horse. We could either take the stoic route or we can take the accountability route, and I just don't see people doing that. And like, for him to block me, but like continuously talk shit about me, I'm like, it's such an unfair fight. And then if you say that like the world isn't fair, I was like, well then let me be my natural hood rat self and then square you up. Then like, the inner hood rat in me just wants to smack you in the face. But because I have to be civilized, I can't. But you get to be ignorant and do all these things online while I have to sit here and endure this BS. It doesn't make any sense. Like it's not realistic in any type of way.
Well, so you talked about Rollo Tomasi, you talked about MLD. What other specific types of backlash have you gotten since then?
Well, I mean, all of them. It's anyone that sits in their circle at this point. They're all assholes, and they're all just like ganging up at this point. But I mean, it's not really anything that I'm shocked. I knew this was gonna happen, and I was kind of ready for it, and I didn't really care because I didn't really see any. Women don't thrive in those spaces. It's the manosphere for a reason. And it wasn't that I cared to thrive in it. It was just I was actually passionate about the topic that I wanted to go into. And I could see that part of it was like, it was working, but then for all the wrong reasons. Like when I look at Pearl, I don't look at her as a woman. I look at her as a woman just shitting on other women. Like it kind of sucks because I'm just like, you have a huge platform that you could do so much more with, but like you're really just reiterating stats and enabling people and talking about how women are so evil. I'm like, but meanwhile, you're growing up on daddy's money, one, and then two, you have a terrible dating history and you're not married and you're younger than me. You don't have any actual life history of life experiences. So what exactly are you accomplishing? I don't see her doing a lot of impact. I can see those same people that support her, the minute she holds any guy accountable, they're all going to turn on her. So are they really like understanding you as an individual, or they just like what you're saying? And as a woman in that space, I realize and accept that I'm not in that space. I'm not welcome, and it's fine. I don't want to be. And a lot of these guys like, you're just mad because you're not accepted. That's fine. You could sit there and jack each other off all day long because it seems like that's what y'all want to do. And I'm gonna stay in my corner. And I like my followers. I like now it's more of like a mutual. Now I'm finally, more women are more like inclined to listen to me because they're like, dude, like you're finally understanding what we want, da da da. And I'm like, well, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not a fucking like hardcore radical femme. Like, I do understand there's still reasons why we need to talk about these things. You shouldn't key no one's car. You shouldn't be a fucking asshole. You shouldn't, like, there's still a commonality and common area for both men and women to coexist. So I'd have to say it's more like I'm in like a hybrid mode right now. Like, I don't really know the actual word, and I don't really know why everyone wants labels, but why can't it just be the truth? Can we just talk about the truth? That's it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like a lot of your politics are shifting with your move away from the red pill, or is it just really about like gender dynamics?
It's like a little bit of both. I guess again, it falls into the category of like empathy and compassion. Like I understand a lot of the political reasons of why people feel what they feel. Again, I don't get too heavy into politics. My fiance's more into it. He's hardcore into it. To me, I feel like it's an endless loophole of drama. So for me, I know enough to understand both spectrums, but not enough to like decide which one. I'm just kind of like centering a little bit of everything, which is annoying because I know no one likes that answer. So.
I mean, I do politics because I love the drama. So actually, if you know lawyers who want to send MLD's criminal history, I am drooling ever since you said that. I would love to get my hands on that stuff.
Really?
Yes. Oh yes. I've been taking shots at him this entire time, and literally the first video I put out on him, a girl comes on. She sat next to him on Whatever podcast. I don't know if you saw any of this, but she sat next to him on the Whatever podcast, and she comes onto my show and she starts talking about the fact that like he was getting really drunk and kept like putting his arm around her chair and kept touching her and was making her feel really uncomfortable, and he smelt really bad, and he kept getting up to like go to the bathroom and get more White Claws and then sitting back down, and he was just kind of acting a fool and saying crazy stuff and blurting out crazy stuff. And so I interviewed her and talked to her and put out clips of it. He blocked me immediately, and literally everybody who liked one of my videos. So I even posted on Twitter like, hey everybody, share your screenshots of your MLD blocks, and there's like rows of people posting their screenshots of MLD blocking him just because they liked one of my posts. Like he is such a baby, and I am
that isn't super sus that he does that. Is that not sus?
He is His name on Twitter is Alpha Male, and he is blocking everybody who even likes something mean about him or just something that he doesn't like. This is supposed to be the Alpha Male, the guy who goes and gets liposuction and takes pictures of himself in a diaper afterwards. Is the guy who's supposed to be the big Giga Chad Alpha Male, but he's running away from every criticism of him and refuses to confront anybody. But he'll go on to Donovan Sharp's podcast and sit around talking about punching women. He's so hardcore. He's so cool.
Yeah. And then you have like Myron's bitch ass over here saying, you try to come at our friend Jonathan. And I'm just like, I didn't try to, I did. And I finished him. So get over it. Like, get over it, bro. Like, his career is done. The guy's posted 5 videos since all this happening, and all of his videos have done absolute garbage. And the comment section is hilarious. And you still think that I'm trying to get rid of your friend? Your friend's done. Your friend is finished. I don't care what you say. I was like, if he would just own up to it, it would have made me look like an idiot more than anyone else. He had that opportunity to own up to it, and I would have just been like, okay, then, all right, fine. All right, cool. I don't like it. You don't like me. That's fine. We can own this on camera. But the fact that he ran in circles, he looked like the idiot. He had the upper hand to fix it, and he didn't want to. And the fact that everyone thinks I'm supposed to sit there and shake hands with a weasel, I'm not shaking hands with you. Like, after these types of shows, everybody wants to follow each other on Instagram. Everybody wants to, like, go eat together. I'm not doing that if you're being a little dick behind cameras. That's stupid. So, yeah, they're all just blowing each other at this point, and they don't want to hear the reality of it, and that's fine. But they're at 2 years from now, a year from now, none of them are going to be relevant. And if they are, they'll be sitting in their echo chamber, and there's nothing great about sitting in your echo chamber. That's the one thing I've learned, is sitting in an echo chamber is like living, growing, and dying in the same place that you were born. You're never going to challenge yourself to what the world actually has to offer. And we're living in a land of opportunities where if you work for anything, you actually get rewarded for it. And a lot of these guys don't want to do that. They want to just blow each other all day long.
Yep. Yeah. You mentioned that MLD is getting like fake views and stuff like that. It's really weird because he's got, I think, like 200,000 subscribers. I just hit 2,000 a couple of days ago. He's got 100 times my subscribers. I get more views than him per video. I get more views than him per month. Like, it's really weird that somehow this guy's going on massive podcasts that I would love to be on and love to be able to get like that sort of exposure. He's getting that and still cannot get people to come watch him or follow him. It does seem like he's actually done. Like, he seems like he's completely toasted.
He's toasted for sure. And again, it's tricky. And if I have to say the only thing with YouTube, I definitely realized, like, if you do a lot of shorts, your page would also blow up, which is frustrating because, like, my shorts have done really well on there. But like, my long form content is having a hard time catching up with my shorts because I used to cater to the short form content, and you realize you're feeding into short-minded people. So for me now, I'm focused on building long-form content for people who just want to like play background noise and like listen. So I think that's one thing these people don't have patience for, is that they want to cater to the quick dopamine, the quick views, the quick hit, the quick clickbait. And it's like, you're just going to send yourself down this loophole because you're always going to be creating drama. You're going to be living in an environment where you have to create drama to create content. And if that's not how you want to live your life, expect a lifelong of stress, balding, and like pimples and anger and resentment. That's all it's going to be.
Well, I've got a bunch of viewers who said that they wanted to ask you questions. Are you okay with taking questions from viewers?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody wants to ask anything, you can jump into the waiting room and we'll pull you in. If you say anything stupid, we're just going to kick you. So, oh, we've already got a bunch of people in the waiting room. Okay. I think Peacemaker was first, but he's on. Peacemaker, take your mute off. Is he there? Maybe not. Okay. He said he was a big fan. He wanted to talk to you, so I guess we'll come back to him later. Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave. Get closer to your mic, please, sir.
Oh, yep. Hi, I'm Dave.
Hello, Dave.
How's it going?
Good. I'm sorry I'm bracing. I get very antsy. My hands are sweaty right now.
Oh no, you're good. I the same way. all the time. I get nervous when I'm on chat. By the way, I think the other dude came back like right as you swapped us.
It's okay.
Just so you know. Yeah, I
You got
didn't
a
really want to
question?
say anything. I just wanted to apologize for all the trolls in chat. They're not part of this community. I don't know where they came from, but they're really annoying, and that's all.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you.
No problem. I'm gonna
Appreciate it,
jump
Dave.
out. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Lola.
Hello?
How's it going, man?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Do you have a question for Angela?
Yeah, Angela. I just want to say, I'm sorry about what happened to you, on that show. Hopefully, you know, you're not too hurt about, what happened. But my only question is, you during that whole back and forth with you and MLD on I think it was called the SOS show. Is that what it's called? It sounded like you made some kind of racist remarks against Japanese girl.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was racist about it? The fact that I actually said the words that they actually say?
Well, you said konnichiwa, but then I heard the clip, and then after that, it sounded like you were kind of mocking or said some sort of Japanese gibberish or something. Can make it
But
kind of make
if
it
that's
sound
what
like
people,
Japanese.
I understand what you're saying. I think that's where the people think that. I study Japanese, so there's two different tones of like if you speak Japanese, you have the very deep voice, which is usually the men, and the women are usually higher pitched.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of normal. I'm an anime fan. That's very normal to speak that way. I think
Uh-huh.
it's funny that a lot of people called it racist because he was the one that said, "Oh yeah, they're just all robots," and they did it. I'm like, okay, yeah, it shows because that's what he said. And I think for me, the only thing I really said was like konnichiwa, sumisamen. To me, that's very normal to say that. So for me, I think it's where people think it's racist. But out of all the things that I could be terribly wrong, and I guess if I need to take that and I'll own it, then I'll own it. If it seems racist, I apologize. But I don't really think that's the worst thing that happened on the show.
No. Like I said, that was just something I want to bring up. But as far as everything else, yeah, I totally agree about what what you said at MLD, and I don't think that was right of him what to do. But that was just my only concern about that whole interaction. I thought was kind of
Well, if anyone would understand, I would have to say like the guy constantly compares women in Japan to here.
Uh-huh.
So they have a personality there, a submission there. What he says, he basically paints them to be concubines.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't watch too much of his content. I just saw
I
him
think she
on.
froze. She froze.
Oh, she did. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was pretty much my only question. But yeah, I kind of, totally against about what MLD said and all that. And, hopefully she can kind of grow her content and be successful, through YouTube. So, but yeah, I know she can't hear me. So
Cool. Well, I appreciate the question, Lola.
yeah, no problem. I'll see you later.
Have a good one. Yeah, she is frozen. I sent her a DM, so we'll see if we can get her back on here. And then, yeah, if you guys don't want to jump into the waiting room, you can send super chats instead. Preferred you send them through Stream Elements. The link is in the description, and then I will read any questions that are appropriate. We'll give her a shot to get back on. She probably lost connection. We will endure in the meantime. We'll play some of these super chats.
Don Juan Plagueis 0 super chatted $4.99. Flexed biceps for Angela. You literally gave a shit test and massive loser Dookie couldn't handle it.
Are you there? You look frozen again. Man, I hope she gives you some receipts on MLD. That would be a dream come true. She's pretending to be frozen. Oh my goodness.
Hello.
We know you've been pretending to be frozen this entire time. You're not tricking us.
Oh my god, I was like, what just happened? I'm so mad. I was like, no. Was it just on my end? I don't know what happened.
Yes, it was just on your end.
I'm sorry. Between I don't know. I have no rebuttal to that. That's just I don't have any control.
Okay. He did say before he left that he hopes you have success in your future endeavors. So.
Oh, very kind of him. Thank you, Lola.
American Defender.
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes. How's it going?
Yeah. I just want to say, Angela, I really enjoyed that clip. I thought it was great, and I was thinking about like the psychology of the red pill and thinking like these are not normal people. Like if you look at the lives of these people, like they want a submissive, like do what you're told, sit down, shut up. They say women should endure abuse. Like this is why I walked away from the red pill too, because I feel like these people, like something's happened to them like psychologically. Like it's not like a political belief, it's almost like something's wrong with them. So what do you think? I just wanted to know what you think, like did they get abused, or why do people come to those kind of like very like arrogant, hating women? Like where does that come from?
I think that to begin with, like I said in the beginning, was like I think we all go there to look for answers, and it does give us the answers we want, but it's almost like it's like drugs. You have to know when to pull away. You can't continuously just keep doping on it. You have to know when to not hit the weed or the blunt or whatever it is. And I think they overdose on the dopamine they get from getting validations from each other constantly, and then the attraction that they get from having that type of clout, because it's very like fast to grow in that space. And I think like after when you grow that fast financially, or just what clout, you end up just kind of creating your echo chamber and not being challenged. And I think like part of growing is being challenged, and they're not being challenged.
Yeah, have you seen Destiny? Because I think Destiny has been like the only person who's actually going on these shows and like kind of pushing back and kind of he's like the voice of reason. It's like the blue hair liberal seems to actually be the voice of reason these days in these podcasts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's a good voice to challenge them. I'm actually impressed with how he's able to endure a lot of it. But I think, again,
endure.
No, he's very upfront about it. Like he says all the time, he's like, I don't agree with a lot of what the guys say in this space, but he says it to their face and they say it to his face. And I think they both kind of know they bum off each other for like content and like entertainment and, just camaraderie. And I think like that's the whole point of it. Like man to man, they expect that and they demand it from each other. But when a girl's in that space, it's kind of like, know your place, shut up. And I'm just kind of like, but isn't that the same reason why you like the fact that I'm here speaking on this? So you only want me to say it when it, benefits you, but when it, forces you to actually grow up, you don't want to.
Yeah, they want to bring on like 10 dumb girls who don't really know a lot. And they don't know the talking points. Like they don't know these arguments or these studies. So they can just like kind of bombard them and be like, well, actually, you're wrong about that. And then they scream and then they get kicked off the podcast. And then everyone's like, wow, look at this woman freaking out. It's like you spend 2 hours reading super chats, calling them ugly, stupid, and then you just kick them off the podcast when they disagree with you. I feel like it's kind of messed up what they do. It's kind of like Jerry Seinfeld, like you just get people to fight. It's kind of like Jerry
Yeah.
Seinfeld in a way.
Like, trust me, if they could kick me off of that podcast I was on, I'm pretty sure I would have been kicked off, like, very quickly if it wasn't for the fact that it was ran by a different person.
Oh, that was Valuetainment. Those guys are not even red pill. Those guys are like conservative guys. Those guys aren't even red pill.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, Defender. Have a good one. You sure you're okay? You seem like you're bracing every time they come on. I don't want to. I don't want to torture you.
I'm ready for the worst. Like, I don't know why.
As soon as they say something nice, you're like so happy. You're like, oh, thank God.
So, like, with me, I grew up in a very domestic, violent home. So I don't like to deal with I don't like dealing with violence. I understand how to like handle them and like, you know, how to just bring it down to where I need to, but like I don't like to actually be in it. So whenever someone's like comes on enraged, I'm like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know what to do. So it's kind of weird sometimes.
Sure. Well, the only other one that we had in line was Peacemaker, and he still doesn't seem like he's come back. I don't know if he jumps on soon, we can pull him in, but he was sending me a bunch of DMs. Bro, I really want to talk to him. I'm a huge fan. Please get me on there. And then he blew his shot. What are you doing on your channel?
My channel is more so just daily topics about dating, intersexual dynamics. Most of my like followers or subscribers are people that are already in relationships and they have a hard time understanding how to communicate with women or like how women to understand, you know, how men think. And I think that people don't actually focus on that too much. A lot of these relationships fail because of the lack of communication, whether it's verbally or emotionally. And I think that that's something we need to focus on. And also shining the light on the things that are toxic in our life, which is like social media. And it's okay to do anything. You just have to know why you're doing it. And I think a lot of people don't focus on that. So I just do that casually. I think I'll figure out how to do other stuff. But for right now, I'm just doing that weekly.
Do you ever talk about like studies or go over like data and stuff like that? Or do you more so talk about like personal experience?
I do 50-50. I don't go too hard into stats just because I've recognized that some people can get very robotic with stats. Like sometimes they take out, you know, like for example, like 80% of women initiate divorces. I always hear that. And I'm like, well, if men could initiate divorces without losing half of their assets, I'm pretty sure that number would be a little different also. You know, and at the end of the day, no one talks about that. So it's easy to point out these stats because it's an easy like danging fruit to just attack. But if you really think about a lot of these things, it's just kind of common sense. And I think like that's the only relatable factor I have is like I'm ignorant enough because I barely graduated high school. So my vocabulary, I've figured out how to speak to the average person without making them feel like an idiot because I think that we're all trying to figure out our footing in life. So it just kind of works out that way. But if I start talking, like I remember like Erudite, I sent her a message to apologize, but she's really smart. But I remember when she started talking, I was like, you lost me, dude. You're too smart and you're making me feel stupid and I don't want to listen to you anymore. And I noticed with a lot of people, like when you make them feel that way, they don't want to listen. So unless you're on that caliber, it's hard to, retain the information.
Yeah, no, I'm a high school dropout and also grew up in a family with domestic abuse and went to prison, was a drug addict for a long time. But
Wait,
I
are
also
we related? Just had to make sure.
But I also enjoy the stats. I enjoy the analytics of pretty much anything that I get into. And so I think that I completely agree with you when there's certain people who talk about things in a certain way that kind of makes your brain shut off if you didn't go to college or you didn't grow up in a very academic area, then it's not it's not really your thing. And I think that's something that like lots of people have been talking about Destiny. That's something that he does really well, is he's capable of using the big brained ideas and stats and all of that, but he talks about it like a normal person, or it
Layman's
makes it.
terms. I'm like, talk to me like I'm in middle school, and high school, no, not even like preschool. He does it very well, and that's what I can appreciate, because I'm like, wow, I actually understand what he says.
Yeah.
And I think like if you don't do that, people gravitate towards entertainment only, because it's like I don't want to learn anymore. I'll just be entertained. So it's like, what's your goal here? To like impact or just to like entertain? So
yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to address some of the people. I was
Feel free. We do have a couple more callers, but
like,
address whoever you want.
Are you an anime person or no?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Well, like I grew up on anime for me, so a lot of my favorite animes, I think like again, it's just like the red pill stuff and just like the everything in life. Like you have to take just enough of it, find the core of it, and then evolve from it. And like I was knee deep into it, and I think it was turning me into like an introvert and like an angry like person. But it goes really deep. So like my deepest animes would be like, it'll go back to like Berserk, it'll go to like Death Note, Gungrave, all the Studio Ghibli's, like all of those things, like it'll create like an imaginary place in your life, like utopia, and it'll make you feel like, why can't the world be this way? I think that's the problem, is like you end up kind of looking for that in the real world and be disappointed that people aren't that way. And I think that being who I am now, a lot of people find that hard, because I can't walk around expressing that other side of me. Like I was super misfit and super lost, and like if I say that, oh, you're trying to victimize yourself. But if I don't talk about it, I'm immediately judged as like some Miami chick who's trying to fit in. Like I don't really have like a safe space to say anything, and it's kind of fucking annoying, because I think we all have our own identifiers, and I think there's how we find character within ourselves. So
let's see. Okay, Benjamin, don't get me in trouble here, please. Okay, he said tomfoolery. Is it said or say Ome wa mu shindiru to her? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
What was the question?
It said say Ome wa mu shindiru to her.
Oh, sorry guys. Sorry. When I said I studied Japanese, that was years ago, and I'm not equipped to even. Sorry, I'm not a pro at speaking Japanese. Sorry, I'm really sorry. And I get really nervous when I talk, so I talk really fast, and I also butcher things up. Remember, guys, if you watch my first podcast interviews, like there's this ghetto undertone that I couldn't get rid of. And it kind of took away from a lot of the things I was saying. And I till today, like I think I struggle articulating myself a lot. And I think that people, like I'm very hard on myself, and people tell me like it's not that bad. I'm like, no, it's bad, because if I talk really fast, I butch up the words severely. And then I talk really fast also. So sorry, it's really bad. I'm more so just like the anime person who watches everything with the dub. So just bear with me. So yeah.
I went through the same thing. I had to like fix how I talked, because I grew up in the hood, so I talked very differently and had to really like train the way that I talk for a really long time. Yeah. So yeah. All right, we got a line of people. So Peacemaker is finally here. Okay, Peacemaker.
Hello.
You there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you. Do you have a question, sir?
Yeah. So, so Angela, right? That's your name. Okay, I can go by Angela. So, it's actually my first time. I'm kind of an incel, so hope you don't mind. I'm one of those guys that I don't know if you like, but
That's
first,
okay.
like, so what?
Just talk freely. It's okay.
Okay.
I'm just here to mediate. We're safe.
I appreciate you understanding. Okay. No, I'm not an incel. Anyway. So like, what do you stand exactly, bro? Like, why are you shaking your head?
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Well, you just like get straight to the point. Like, can I just like make my way to it?
There's a line of other people. We go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
fair enough. So yeah, I saw your appearance. Like, I guess you're known by like the like just like owning this guy or whatever on the Value Tainment podcast. Do you have any like relatives there by any chance, or the work there? Like the producer? Like, are you related to the producer, or anything?
No, I'm not related to anybody here.
There, okay. Because it seems like it was kind of a setup. A lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are also calling you a bit insecure for like just like going at him for that reason. Like, what is your response to that?
Why don't you tell me what your question is? I don't want to care what people think. What do you think? What's your question?
Just like what your response was to like the people's comments about you being insecure.
Okay, well, my question to you to that question is, if you were sitting in my shoe and somebody dismissed you, would you allow that, or would you actually address it? Would you address it, or would you allow it?
Dismiss you in what way?
Excuse me?
Dismiss you like in what way?
Let's say you went onto a show to ask a question and somebody just shook their head. Would you mention it and address that? Peacemaker?
Is that what? Okay. I don't know.
Well, I'm saying somebody actually insulted her, and you're asking her about her addressing it. Whereas I'm saying I literally just shook my head while you were talking, and you felt like it was important enough to address. Whereas I think somebody talking crap about her in the way that they did is a much bigger deal than that. Do you not agree with that?
No, I appreciate you mansplaining her position, but I think that.
Well, okay, and that's one part of it. If somebody wants to call me insecure, that's fine. But if we look at all these other podcasts where, for example, the Abin Preach and the Myron situation, Abin Preach made a hit piece on this guy apparently, and he's popping his veins out trying to say how we don't deal with snakes. Da 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 da. Is that not the same shit that what's his face did to me? So why do you get to yell on the internet, but when I call someone out, it's a problem? Where's the hypocrisy in that?
It seemed like that was a little too personal, like just like coming out with that and just like, okay, he called you fat, like just like it's like kind of like a passing comment, like who cares? But like just like going at him because of that and just like making this like creating this very awkward environment, just where it's like the guy's just like, I mean, to your credit, like you kind of like own the guy. I mean, he got all red and just walked out, but it's like over just like him commenting like you were like a bit overweight, like. Really?
Let's clarify. The insult could have been anything. Because to me, if you don't know somebody, you either come with respect or you come with the reason why you don't like them. Now, if you say, hey, you want to date me and I don't like you, but you're too fat. All right, that's a fair reason as to why you don't like somebody. But if you're just going to insult somebody, walk by, you see homeless man, you're a piece of shit. Or are you going to help him do better with his life? So what's the relevance of you insulting somebody is my question.
No, I got you. But I think his response to that was that, I think he even mentioned this on the podcast, that he was like, it's like a trolling comment. Like he just like comments on these things, like just like randomly. He doesn't like really remember the shit that. So it's like random stuff that he says. So it's like, I don't think that, and honestly, like I don't expect him to like.
How are you a high value man if you're running your mouth like that? You think that's a very high value thing? If you're going to claim yourself to be, a high value person, why are you running your mouth? Why is it such a common factor to be so disrespectful that you can excuse yourself to that level that you don't remember you did it? It's like you're so used to sleeping with people you don't remember who you slept with. How is that normal?
But that's an argument that you could make. But saying that he doesn't remember, well, I guess you can question his like high value manness or whatever, manhood. But like one argument that could be valid is also that he just may not remember. It's just like he just called someone fat on the on the stream or whatever. It's like people just like troll around. I mean, yeah, I guess he's like doing his own main account, but yeah.
As a content creator, I know what trolls are. There's a difference between a troll and there's a person who's a content creator.
He was trolling, not like he's not a troll. I was like, oh, of course, he was like doing it as his main account.
No, it's okay. If you're gonna not you, but if he's sitting here saying like I've done 6 shows and I'm exhausted and all this bullshit. If you've done so much exhausting things, how do you have time to sit there and troll? 1, and then 2, I was the main guest of the show that he was trolling. So how do you not know that? 1, 2, everyone that I've interacted with has mentioned the relevance and the mutuals that we all know with each other. So to me, it's not the matter that Buddy didn't remember. If anyone has common sense, you study the body language, you study the face, you study the way he sits, you study all these things, the way he ran in circles, the way he denied it for 10 minutes, and then said, yeah, okay, yeah, I remember. Why didn't you just lead with that?
Well, I think he admitted to remembering, just like you guys can just like move past that point. It seems like he was just like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, I'll, even if I don't remember, I'll just admit it or whatever. That's just kind of how it came across because he just wanted to like move on. But it just seems like it's a very sort of like nonsensical, like irrelevant thing to even like, it's like they're passing comments. Like people call just random people like all over, like having to, because like a lot of these girls, I mean, like I don't mean like generalize you or anything, but like a lot of these like manosphere, again, not generalizing you specifically, a lot of these manosphere, they just like go around to all these different shows or whatever. Like they're all just like sort of recycle
So
around
are
all
you
over.
trying to normalize this? Is what my question is, because I don't understand right now.
No. I'm trying to explain that him not remembering that could just not be a malicious thing. He
And
could
that's
just
my point.
honestly not
My
remember.
point to pointing it out was to point out the inconsistency of him saying what a man is and what traumatized women shouldn't do and all this shit. And to me, it's like it's a hypocrite for you to sit here and say these things, have a constant pattern of calling women bitches, whores, and being disgusting to them. Constant pattern of everywhere he goes, he leaves a trail of evidence of where he's been. And to me, who the fuck's gonna call him out? The amount of women he did a prior podcast where he made a woman cry leaving the podcast because the host of the show wants to be a new FNF, and these people are just being disgusting to her. Like, to me, that's not a very manly thing to do. And then for you to come there and do all these hit pieces on Nat, which I think, yeah, these guys want to be buddy, be homeboys with each other. If the roles are reversed, they do the same shit to the girls on FNF.
Okay.
All these people. So to me, I don't think I did anything crazy, and it wasn't
No,
again.
I got you. I feel like I'm getting you, but okay. So because it seems like you're adding a little more than like what we generally what you initially talked about, which was like him calling you fat or whatever, right? But let's say that had he not called you fat, those things that you just mentioned, would you have called him out because of those things?
It's not my problem. To me,
Okay.
it's like it didn't affect me.
So
but
you would
when
see
you're gonna sit
why.
here-
Yeah, you would see why just including that now would seem like just kind of going past the point, because like you wouldn't have called him out had he not called you fat. So
Yeah,
it seems
but
like
that's the whole point. That's the whole point. If you deal with a criminal, you see he's a criminal, but he does nothing to you, then you can't sit there and crucify him because he did nothing to you. But we know he's a criminal. We're sitting with the elephant in the room. So I don't understand the point of you pointing that out.
I pointed it out because it seems like you kind of adding that, like piling that on top of him, just like calling you.
Again, it's an assumption that you can make, and everybody in the debating space knows if you don't have facts and stats to back this shit up, it's all assumptions. And I'm clarifying it, and it doesn't seem like you want to understand it.
I understand what you're. If you're saying that, okay, so you just kind of added that as like a useful tool to just like pile on with whatever,
No,
just like
it's not a
use that
useful
again.
tool. You're asking me why I don't like the guy. I'm clearly explaining it. There's plenty of reasons not to like the guy, and then that was just what broke the straw on the camel's back. I don't
Okay,
understand.
so you initially did not like him to begin with,
Yeah.
before he even called you fat or whatever. Like you just didn't. You just were not a fan of his, basically.
Everybody in this space has their flaws. I've learned to understand that there's a lot of things that I don't like about people, and there's some things that I embrace. But when you continuously show me patterns of you not liking women, you're giving me a whole reason to like, all right, let me go ahead and distance myself from this person. When I choose to distance myself from you and you go and attack me, that is my problem. Anyone could say, oh, it was just bullshit. It's like saying, well, my dick just fell in her. You really? Like, it's a poor excuse to give somebody. I think that's a ridiculous reason to say it's just Call of Duty talk. I'm not in the game room, bro. Like we were on Saucecast. Like everybody knows you have to go on the chat room to write the comment.
No, I see what you're saying. So it seems like your main issue with him was the fact that he's a bit of a hypocrite. He should have run his mouth a lot, talk shit about women. But on that show, it seems like you made it about just him calling. The reason why it seemed like you had a problem with him was because of him calling you overweight or something like that.
But
You would see how people see it that way.
I'm not white knighting. I can't fight for other people's battles. Like that makes me look even shittier to say where's the proof in that? And everyone's gonna be like, where's the proof on this? The only proof I had was my proof with him. So that was the whole point.
But if I were to ask you that now, then where is the proof?
You want me to pull it up? I could, but two, I don't.
What's the difference of bringing it up here as opposed to there? Like what?
Because I was giving him dignity, room to actually own up to that shit and show the world that, yeah, you know what? I made a mistake. Even if I don't remember, let me just own this shit and be like, my bad. I probably said it. I didn't mean to. I was just still drunk. Proof that he fucking gropes up women at podcasts and doesn't remember these things. So obviously the guy needs to just own up to the fact that he's dirty and slobby everywhere he goes.
The other
But
woman
you would
there
understand
was
that there
also
aren't-
mentioning the check mark next to his name as well.
Yeah, that's the comment of him like insulting her specifically. But I guess my point was that the additional things that you're adding to the attack are things that are not exactly provable.
you don't have the evidence for those things. The only thing that you have the evidence
don't
of is
have
them
the
calling
proof.
you.
You don't have the proof. I have the proof. And again, this is irrelevant to what I'm trying to say. The relevance of me calling him out was to own it. Like,
Okay,
if you're gonna go and dig and ask me what have I have plenty of reasons why I don't like the guy. I have plenty of reasons why I don't like a lot of people. But until it directly affects me, until you're coming at me, then I'm going to come at you. I don't see anything wrong with that. Regardless of the world is always gonna have their own little 2 cents because you're not actually there. And anyone else is not actually. They're gonna be like, oh, it seems premeditated. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. The whole point was like, you're a hypocrite, bro. Own it or apologize. It's simple.
We only got a couple minutes left, so I gotta let you go, Peacemaker. I appreciate you calling in.
I am a big fan of yours, by the way, Angela. I signed up to your OnlyFans. I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Okay. Uzumaki.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Yeah,
You got a question?
Yeah.
We do have to roll through these last couple pretty quick.
Yeah. Angela, do you prefer to read manga or anime? Watch anime.
No, I'm not a strong reader. I'm more of like a watching anime.
Oh, sure. Okay. What's like your top 3?
The animes that I watch?
Like what's your genre? What type of genre do you?
That's, I'm sorry. This question just went from like the other topic to this, so
Whiplash.
Yeah, I don't care about the red pill shit. Like that's some boring shit. Okay, I hate those guys anyways. So I'm like I don't care. I'm more interested in this.
I'm sorry. Were you here when I named the animes that I watch?
She named a bunch earlier. So Death Note.
Yeah.
Death Note, Gungrave, Tenchi. I don't even know. Violet Evergarden. All of it's there. Like I don't know.
All right. It's more like a seinen genre. Like, yeah.
It's very wide range. But yeah, Samurai
Yeah,
Shampoo, all that stuff. It's all there. So just yeah, it's weird, pretty weird.
Yeah. So I was gonna say that you don't know what Omae wa Shinderu meme is? Like you're an anime watcher and you don't know this. I'm disappointed. Okay. If there was an
Okay,
anime
I'm
club,
sorry. I don't watch like the Naruto and the more, no offense to anybody, but I like the one that goes into depth and have like a storyline. I don't like watching like if it's like my brother was into Goku and not Goku. Sorry, don't kill me for that.
Fist of the North Star. That's like a classic.
Dragon
That's
Ball
like
Z and Pokemon. Those are just very repetitive. It's like watching Friends, but like in anime form. So I'm not really a big fan of that. But yeah, but we gotta move on to the next one because Tom's getting impatient. His foot's tapping. So nice
All right,
talking.
bye, Tom. Love you.
Thank you. I'm not a fan of anime. I freaking hate it. So this happening on my channel is
I'm
rich.
sorry. I
All right, Extreme Dad, what you got for us?
Hey there. First I wanted to say that these questions have been brutal, and I apologize on behalf of shit. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you apologize on behalf of.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna ask you, if she could make any changes, what would she change about the red pill space going forward? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think the red pill space is changeable, to be really honest. I don't think that's. Oh, is he still there?
He's gonna listen to the answer on the.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't think it's something that you could change. I think it's something that you have to observe and recognize it's a survival toolkit, and then and just move on from like that's something that's your own personal journey that I think that people don't see. I think they depend too much on that community to solve all your problems. So I don't think it's something that it could change.
Yeah, this is something that I think Rolo says a lot. There's somebody named Torsha. Do you know Torsha?
Mm-hmm.
So I talk to Torsha sometimes, and she says this pretty consistently that like it's meant to just be like tools, just like telling you the way things are, and then you can kind of do what you want with it. Do you still believe in that, or do you think that because she separates a lot of the red pill. She says that there's like old school red pill that's kind of got the fundamentals down, but then there's the pop red pill that's like Fresh and Fit and Pearl and whatever podcasts and all of these other guys that are kind of they're kind of just just kind of like a pop version of it, but it doesn't stay in line with what red pill was meant to be. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's why I'm saying I'm distancing myself from the pop part of it, and then I do recognize that there's the core of it. And to me, it's there if you need it, but I personally don't really need it. I don't think so, and I don't feel like I want to even touch that bubble anymore. But yeah, that's what I was saying to clarify on your podcast and like this other channel. I was saying like I don't hate anything. I just know my place. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Because yeah, she's a big follower of Rollo Tomasi, who's supposed to be the guy who came up, I guess, with a lot of the fundamentals, and you're not a very big fan of him anymore. So I suppose you don't really follow his advice.
I mean, his advice doesn't really benefit me in any type of way. It's more so for men. So I think he's a very strange way for him to handle things, and lost my respect there. So it's a hard pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got, Angela. You got anything else you want to say before we let you go?
No, this was pretty cool. I really appreciate you organizing this and bringing up the eclectic group of people for the cars. This is very fun and cool. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think you're a very normal person for this space.
Thank you.
So is your followers are actually pretty normal too.
Yes, we are creating a group of terminally online normies who are gonna take over the internet. So
Love that.
We're coming.
I think that's amazing. I think you should keep doing that.
I appreciate it. We mods putting your link in the channel, so everybody go follow Angela, give her some subs, show her some love, and I guess anytime you want to chat, hit me up. You're in my Discord. You got me on Twitter, so
Sweet. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.